The power goes out at your house. Your phone is still working, so you know it's not an EMP. You learn that the outage is widespread. The outage was caused by grid-level transformers that will take 2 years to replace. Nobody has utility power within driving range. How can you survive? Well, let's take a look here and see what we expect to happen because of this outage. And hopefully you'd have preps in place for handling these outages. Now, what immediately has failed is, of course, the power's failed. But also, in many places, your home internet may fail immediately. If it doesn't, I would count on it within the next few days for sure. But I would expect the home internet to go down probably immediately. There's just too many things that generally run on grid power between your modem, and if your modem's down, you're not going to have that internet anyway. If you do hook it up to a generator, you might get that internet to work. Some places have alternate power, but I wouldn't count on it. I would expect that internet is down the moment that power went out in your area. Banks will probably be unable to operate. They won't be able to access their systems. They won't have power at their ATMs, none of that. Good chance here your banks are going to go down. And gas stations will more than likely be unable to pump gas. Now, some of these places that stop, some of them may have generator backup, and they may hiccup for a little bit, especially a gas station that has to reset its turbines, which are the big pumps that pump the fuel out of the ground. So you might shop around, but I wouldn't waste too much gas in the process. Because if you know of a spot that has generator backup, that's great. If you don't, that's ouch. So I would count on whatever fuel you have stored, that's what you have for that time. Whatever cash you have out, hopefully you had some cash. But I would definitely, right away, look at getting whatever water you can, making sure your water stores are topped up. Take a shower if you haven't already that day. Get a fresh shower in. Do whatever you need to do with the water and store some water. Clean out that bathtub. Put in that bathtub bladder. Fill your sink basins. Get whatever water you need, because very soon, but don't waste any of it, because what's in that water tower is what there is. The water pumps are oftentimes electric. There's going to be some gravity feed water for a little bit, and within a few hours that would be gone. Could be immediate, but I would expect it would take a few hours for that to take time. I've been through a good power outage before that lasted, it was just a few days, and it was just my local area, but it was, I saw how things fell apart. Sewer could stop in some places if they do rely on electric pumps to keep that flowing. So your drains might not work. They could back up, so you need to be prepared for that too. Now, household gas may also no longer maintain pressure too. It's one of those things here that may be electrically pressurized, and once the pressure goes down, you might not be able to cook on your natural gas or propane or whatever you have in the way of a stove. And in a few hours, of course, the kids will get bored. Now, why is that something to pay attention to here? Even if you don't have kids, the neighbor's kids could be bored, and that can lead to some trouble sometimes. Just saying. Something to be aware of. In the next few days, your cellular internet may stop. Those cellular towers oftentimes have battery backups in them, but they only have maybe a couple days of power. And they're going to shut down too after a while. And supplies after a few days too. Remember, the gas stations stopped pumping, and some of them may have generators, but some of them may not. And some of those trucks may find the truck stops that are still able to pump, and some of them might not be able to run anymore. And so there's a good chance here that you might not get supplies coming into there. And I'm talking about your groceries, I'm talking about your hardware, I'm talking about propane. Propane at the propane stations, they'll probably have the supply that's there in their tank. But there's no telling how long that's going to last. They might get another shipment, they might not. A lot of times that's just pressure released, and they might be able to sell that for cash, but a lot of cash registers are not going to work. So even places that are able to be open probably won't be able to take your credit card. So you're going to need that cash that you put away. Hopefully you put some into cash. Eventually people will start to change their methods. Very possibly they might change the way they do police patrols. They might change the way they organize your counties. They will have to adapt. There's a good chance of some changes in that adaptation. So what should you do in this case, knowing that this is what you could expect? Now, government could come on in and change how this is. They could add generators somewhere, keep certain essential services up, if they prioritize your area. I like to stay prepared because I don't want to count on being prioritized, and I don't want to have to take priority over somebody else either. So I'm not going to count on that. This is what I'm going to count on without any intervention happening. It's a chance, sure, National Guard could bring in some generators, or FEMA could bring in some generators, and maybe your whole town would have power again. It just depends on the importance of your town and what they have in the area at the time, as far as whether or not that will become a reality. So I'm going to look out here and I'm going to say yes. The first things that I'm going to do right when the power goes out is I'm going to leave my fridge shut until I'm nice and hungry. And that fridge is going to be my priority food. As soon as I have to take food out of there, I'm going to take as much food out of there as I think I can eat before it goes bad, and I'm going to bring what's in the freezer down to the fridge. All my ice, all my frozen goods, they're going to help keep my fridge cool a little bit longer. And I'm going to seal that fridge off and try not to open it again for a while until I've eaten that other bit of food out there. Hopefully I wait about 4 to 6 hours to ever open that fridge. But if I'm hungry, that's when I'm going to open it. And I'm going to take as much out of there as I need to. And I'm going to wait as long as I can. Well, about 4 to 6 hours. Ideally. I'm going to bring my frozen food down and let that keep my refrigerated food company. And then that will keep things a little bit longer. And then after that, then I'm going to try to hook up that fridge and run it on the generator as long as I need to keep it, to get it cool, keep it cool for a bit longer as I open it again to pull out more. But that's going to be my priority to consume, is everything in the fridge. And then I'm going to go to shelf stable stuff. And then I'm going to start going to, well, the shelf perishables. You know, your fruits and stuff like that. After I'm done with the fridge, I'm going to go to my bananas and stuff like that. Then I'm going to go towards everything else that does not need refrigeration, after I've gotten rid of all of my perishables and refrigerated and frozen stuff. But the shelf perishables, like my loaves of bread and stuff like that, those are eaten after I eat everything in the fridge. I'm going to focus on that fridge. Depends on how much I have in the fridge, as far as how big of a deal that is. If I only have a little bit in there, I might consider making it into a sandwich. If I have a ton of lunch meat in there, I might just decide to eat the lunch meat and eat the bread on something else. If All right. So yeah, I'm going to take a look at that. I'm going to be watchful on my sewer immediately, just to make sure that I can catch it right away if anything looks like it's going to start backing up. Try and pay attention to anything that looks like it could be a sewer backup and try to deal with that. And, make sure that I have my camping stuff available, my camping stoves and whatever. If you have kids, try and entertain them. But the other thing too is if you need anything from the internet, any other information, you want to download it right then and there. I'm going to make a trip to get propane if I need any, and I'm going to make a trip to the store with whatever cash I have. Now, I'm going to expect a bit of a line at each, the propane to be less than the store. I'm not expecting it to be a hostile line. I'm not expecting this to be a brawl type situation or a raw type situation. This is going to be a situation where most people are just going to decide, I don't have anything better to do, my video game console's shut down, I'm going to the store to shop. So there's going to be plenty of people over there just shopping. And the checkout lines will be long because they're going to be having to add things up by hand. And they won't be able to take credit cards, and all that other stuff is going to be a problem there. It's your choice which way you want it to go, but those are the two stops I'd really try and focus on right away, is get to propane and make sure you're topped up on that, and then get to the store. It's going to be busier than usual, but I wouldn't expect it to be an absolute madhouse. Later on, once your people realize the supplies have stopped, it's going to be a different story. So you want to stay stocked up until that time. Once you see it's a madhouse, then you got to stop going. But that's the process that I would be using at step one, and just try to transition yourself over to being without power. Working on your batteries, get your solar system out, get your generator out, whatever you're using to run off grid. Try and switch yourself over as much as possible. Thank you for watching.